Big news to go over today is the Toronto Maple Leafs continue to make moves this time. A move that has fans fired up to break down exactly what it is, but also discuss some crucial updates, not only ahead of tonight's game, but an update that has huge implications going forward beyond that, as well as a few other things on this episode. But before we get into it all, quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Your guys' support has been unbelievable. And of course, the Leafs are struggling a little bit, but you guys' support hasn't wavered at all. So thank you guys for your continued support. There's a lot to go over today, and more moves are being made, and it's been a season of lineup shuffles for the Toronto Maple Leafs. But this one in particular here, fans are a little bit upset about. We'll dive into that in a minute, but let's start with some updates. And obviously, Austin Matthews being injured. I mean, a ton of players being injured. The Leafs optional skate will start shortly. You can see here the lineup has already been confirmed, but Austin Matthews has made the trip officially to Montreal to put in some work. And of course, a big matchup tonight against the Montreal Canadiens. Matthew Nyes also getting some work in, dealing with an injury of his own. And there's been a lot of injuries. The good news is, though, it seems, and we'll dive into the change in a minute here, but it seems like everyone's slowly but surely starting to get back to healthy form. And despite what's been a disastrous season, a lot of teams, including the Canadiens, are struggling a lot. And of course, the Leafs. If you can try to scratch together some wins, beat the Canadiens tonight, move up a little bit in the Atlantic Division, then get everyone healthy, I still have some faith in this team, even though it's been a pretty rough year so far.
You got to keep the faith in the team, unfortunately, even though it's been a rough season to start, right? But when you look at the Montreal Canadiens, that's a big storyline heading into tonight as well. Like you mentioned, I want to get into that in a bit, that they're injured as well. Oliver Kapanen is their second line center, right? You have a great opportunity if you're the Leafs tonight, and it's going to be almost the same lineup that went the other night that's going to be playing tonight, except one other move, which we'll get to in a second. But some good news on the injury front. The fact that Matthews and Nyes, not Matthew Nyes, but Austin Matthews and Matthew Nyes, are on the ice in Montreal, the fact that they traveled with the team and they're skating is a really good sign. So I do think you can pencil them in for Wednesday's game. I think that could be, a safe bet at this point. The fact that they traveled, all of that stuff. Also, the fact that your captain is traveling with the team on this road trip and is on the ice for morning skate, even though they're not playing, is good, good news. That's a good sign. So really happy about that. Nice to see that. They were also taking part in some line rushes and some drills as well. So that was nice to see too. So saw a couple of those. So that's some good news. Hopefully the other guys are soon to fall. There's no timelines with pretty much everyone else, but hoping for, mid next week for two of these guys. But again, the Leafs made some interesting moves heading into this one that have some people definitely fired up this morning. And they're playing a depleted Montreal Canadiens team as well.
Who have lost a lot in a row, aren't playing well at all. But let's dive into the lineup. And on the surface, you might think, okay, why is it such a big deal? Sammy Blais in, Jake McQuillan out. Fans, myself, I don't know how you feel about Darius, but Jacob Quillen's looked really good, whether it be on the fourth line, the third line. He was making an impact. People were saying he should have been up the whole time. And then Craig Berube in, I guess you could argue the biggest game of the year thus far. I think given, both teams' kind of statures here, they put in Sammy Blais, who's been fine in his own right, instead of Jacob Quillen. But it goes to show there's been a lot of movement up and down. I'm happy Easton Cowan isn't out. I don't know if you could send him back to the AHL anytime soon, if even this season with the way that he's playing. Of course, they probably will once everyone gets healthy. But there's Sammy Blais is in, Jacob Quillen is out, and whether that's, because of his, veteran leadership, I guess, even though he's not necessarily like a veteran, but a guy who's been around the NHL a little bit longer, it's going to be a pretty interesting game. But he's also a Quebec native, which I'm sure plays a lot into it. You can see here he's spoken facing the Canadiens, who put him on waivers in October. This is really the reason why he's, of course, playing, is because they put him on waivers, a bit of a revenge game for him. He said, I'm really motivated, kind of a little more of a chip on my shoulder tonight for sure. And he's expecting lots of family members in there. So on the surface, that's why. But fans are still a little bit upset that Quillen was the one that came out, given the fact that, you could argue Domi should have been taken out. You can argue a lot of different things. I would have liked to see Quillen in, but at the same time, I'm not upset at Berube for putting Sammy Blais in, especially against his old team. This is kind of something that happens across the NHL anyway.
Yeah, I don't hate this move at all, honestly. I think it makes a lot of sense, actually. You have invested interest, this player does, in this game. So why wouldn't you want this player in the game, right? He's going to be throwing the body around. If he isn't, then there's something deeply wrong with this team. But he has invested interest in this game. He's from there. They just put him on waivers. That's how the Leafs got him. So obviously you want to have a bit of revenge. You want to score a goal. So he has invested interest in this game. So I like the move. Now, for Jacob Quillen, I don't know about that. Jacob Quillen is a good young player. He has the foot speed, all of those things. I don't know if that 1-for-1 makes sense to me. When you look up and down the lineup, could it be Yarncroke? I don't know. He's actually played kind of well the last little while. So when you look up and down the lineup, maybe it's Domi. Like, that would be a perfect opportunity to scratch him against his former team as well for that horrible mistake that he made in overtime the other night, throwing the pizza through the middle. So that could have been a good opportunity. I think that it's a good move in terms of Blake coming into the lineup because he's going to have that fire under him to play well tonight. So it makes sense and it could spark something in some of the other guys. But the move 1-for-1 to take Quillen out, I don't know if I necessarily agree. At the end of the day, it is just one game. We'll see how the lines shake out. And I did see, the way that they were practicing, that Cowan won't actually start with that top line, which I think is the most shocking thing heading into tonight because he should absolutely start on that top line. To me, out of the entire lineup, I'm not saying that all the guys aren't trying, but he's the only guy that you can see is listening to Berube and actively executing on what he wants him to do. And he's trying hard. He's not giving up on every play, and that's Cowan to me. So you could argue, is he ready for the NHL full time? All of those stuff, like we can argue that. But to me, he should be on the top line because he's skating well. He's executing on what Berube is asking of him. He does not give up on plays. And Yarncroke, as you can see, is back up on that top line, at least to start this game. So we'll see how that plays out. But very interesting heading into this game against, again, a depleted Montreal Canadiens lineup. You have a phenomenal opportunity with Joseph Woll in net again because he's been hot since he's come back to pick up 2 points here and get back in the mix. Because, first and last in the Atlantic Division, separated by what, 5 points, I think right now. It's, you win a couple games, you're back in it.
Yeah, and obviously at this point you can see here that Yarncroke's back in, and that's interesting in itself. But the Habs are depleted, the Leafs are also very depleted. So that's each of their own right there. Nye's out, Matthews out. And again, these are the lineups from yesterday. No updated lineups today because it was an optional skate rather than a full-on practice. Sammy Blais is going to be replacing Quillens. We assume it'll be Nylander, Tavares, Yarncroke, Robertson, Domi, McMahon, Lawrence, Lawton, Cowan, and then Joshua, Sammy Blais, Matthias Maccelli, who Maccelli in his own right hasn't been great this year either. There's been a lot of dialogue there. I'm also looking to see how the blue line looks tonight because, of course, you have Riley OEL, Beno McCabe, and then hopefully Troy Stetzer can continue performing way above what anyone could have imagined here with the way that he's made an impact advance analytic-wise. And then, of course, for Joseph Woll, his 4th straight start, they're trying to burn him to the ground early, it seems here. But since coming back, you mentioned it, and it's kind of been lost in all the losses that have happened with the Leafs. He has a .923 save percentage in 3 games, which is excellent, but it's also horrible that the Leafs haven't been able to get more wins with him between the pipes because of their bad defense and they're injured, things like that. But Stolarz, hopefully he'll be back soon. Doesn't seem like it. They're going with Joseph Woll, and I'm also curious to see when Dennis Hildeby will get in because you look here, a little Saturday night hockey on the docket, goals per game. Both of them score a lot. Both of them give up a lot. So it's going to be an absolute barn burner if you want to call it that. But I'm excited. It's the first time I think this year where I feel like they can actually make up some ground. I mean, you look at the Atlantic Division here. It is mid. The entire division is just filled with mid, including the Leafs who are actually below mid. This is your chance. You win the night. You have some momentum going in. You get everybody back healthy. Nyes, Matthews, get everyone back. Stolarz, and make a big push here before the break in February, but also the deadline that's going to be coming up sooner than we know it.
Yeah, you have a great opportunity in front of you. And like you said, both these teams like to score a lot. They like to give up a lot of goals too. So we'll see what Joseph Woll does tonight. Notoriously in that building, I feel like he has been pretty good. Like he's had some incredible performances at the Bell Center. So I'm excited to see what Woll does. And on the other side of things, we talked about it in our video yesterday. Their next game is in Columbus. They're playing the Blue Jackets again on Wednesday. They have a couple days off. Do you go back to Woll again, or is it Hildeby? Because Hildeby in that building does not have the greatest track record. So we'll see what they do with that. They have a couple days off. So they are just, at this point, Stolarz is not available. Looks like he's out for quite a bit of time at this point. They have no update on his status. So looks like it's going to be Joseph Woll for a bit, but he is playing good. So excited to see what they do tonight. Good opportunity. Get these 2 points. This is a good opportunity.
Yeah, let us know how your thoughts are on this. Lots of it was coming. We'll keep you up to date every step of the way. Hopefully the Leafs take care of business tonight.